Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome back to another live stream, another show, another episode. Hope you guys are ready to rock and roll as we usually do here every single Thursdays. And we're going to be talking about today why I live out here in Merida, Yucatan. Because guys, I know for a lot of you guys out there, you guys always ask, the question, well, why do you live in Merida? Why do you live in the Yucatan? Why do you live out there? Why did you choose this area? How come you're not in another part of Mexico, and so on and so forth? So today, we're going to go into that. Obviously, there's a backstory as to why, I live out here, but we're going to get into all that. But again, I've been here in Mexico over 7 years. So why am I still living out here in Merida? Why have I not moved elsewhere? I've traveled to other parts of Mexico, but yet why do I make this my home? Well, again, in today's video, I'm going to be showing you and talking to you guys about why I love living here. As you guys can see in the background, this is from a fishing trip that we took several years ago. But again, we got tons of footage that I'm going to be showing you of, the last like 7 years, give or take, that I've been living here. These are just like little highlights, I'll be showing in the background. But again, guys, for those of you guys that are not aware as to where I live in Merida, Yucatan, Mexico. All right. And Merida, Yucatan is basically an area that is, like the Caribbean in a sense. We're right by the Caribbean. We're right by the Gulf of Mexico. We're really close to Cuba. We're really close to the Caribbean islands and so on and so forth. Cancun is, basically a short drive away from here, and so on and so forth. And so the reason that, it's one of the reasons why I love living out here, because originally I was from Miami, Florida, from South Florida. And so this is one of those places out here in Mexico that is very, very similar to what I was used to what I love, of Florida, the same kind of environment and so many other things. Again, the Cuban Latin culture. I love the weather. I know that's not for everybody, but there's a lot of things that I love about this region. And even though I love other parts of Mexico and I visited other parts of Mexico, this is where we call home. This is the place that we always, just want to come back to and want to live in. Now, before I was going to do today's video, I was actually, I had a few, kind of things to talk about. Again, I'm always, pre-game, before I even go live, I'm always taking notes and trying to figure out what to talk about, what to discuss. And I was actually going to discuss today something that is happening here a little, something that's happening here locally, not really affecting the rest of Mexico. I thought I was gonna, I thought I would cover that. We're gonna cover it anyway, but I thought I would cover that, talk about that a little bit, while, we do the live stream. But again, as I was just getting ready, for the show last night, before I was getting the whole live stream ready, I was realizing, the thing is, it's that, yeah, I can report on certain things that are happening here locally, but at the same time, is that really going to change or affect, whether I'm going to be living here or not? Probably not. And will it really affect and change, whether you're going to be living here or not? Well, possibly. That's why I figured, why not just discuss the whole area and, as a whole, just do a holistic approach to the whole thing, as opposed to just talk about, certain things that, might or might not be relevant to you out there in the audience. So, what was I going to talk about? Well, very recently, since last week, we've been having a giant problem out here in the Yucatan, in the whole area, where we've been invaded by mosquitoes, a big giant mosquito invasion. And so, obviously it's, pain in the butt, for, the people that live here, the locals. Imagine other people that, have come visited. There's a lot of tourists out there right now that are visiting the area. They might not be very happy with the mosquito situation. Other people that might have been, like you guys, it might be your first year here, your first few months here. You might be your first time visiting here. You might be here several years and you've never seen anything like this with this mosquito invasion. But the reality is that that's just part of living out here. Sometimes we're going to have things like that. Every single region of the planet has different problems with different animals or bugs or the environment or whatever it is. And so out here is no different. So why is it that we've been having a giant mosquito invasion? Well, because this year, if you guys have been following me throughout the year, you guys have noticed that sometimes we're doing a live stream and I'll get knocked out because simply the rain is so heavy, I can't broadcast the live stream. And so we've been having a lot of heavy rains. It's been a wet season, a wetter than usual season. Right now we're in the middle of the wet season, in the middle of the rainy season, the stormy season, hurricane season. So all that is happening right now. And since we've been having a lot of rain, again, for the outsider, it might seem like a lot of rain. For people that are used to this kind of stuff, again, I've been living here 7 years. I'm from South Florida. Anyways, the type of rain and the type of weather that we've been having is pretty normal in a sense. There have been a few abnormalities this year. We've been having extra heavy storms. The storms have been heavier than usual. A lot of lightning. Obviously now we have a bug infestation just because of all the rain and so on and so forth. And but again, it's not that unique, because again, I have family in Florida and they tell me that the weather over there is a lot worse. They're telling me that they're having a lot more lightning storms. Anyone that follows sports, for example, in the USA, you guys have known in the last several months, there's been a lot of, whether baseball games or football games or whatever it is have been basically postponed because of the lightning and so on and so forth. So out here, no different. We're having, a lot of heavy weather issues. But, for us locals, for us that are used to this kind of weather, it's really not anything that we haven't seen before, because it's funny, a lot of people out in the audience, a lot of times they contact me or they ask me and they go, hey, Jose, we've never been through a hurricane. We've never been through, hurricane season. We've never been through any of that. What should we watch out for? What are the things that we should be looking out for? How can we prepare? What can we do in order to mitigate this situation? And it's funny because the reality is that sometimes we'll get like an afternoon storm out here, and that is a lot worse than when we actually get a hurricane out here. So my tip to a lot of people out here is just basically is if you can survive the rain and the storms out here during the regular stormy rainy season, then you should be totally fine by the time a hurricane comes. And again, in the 7 years that I've been here, we've been hit multiple times by hurricanes throughout the years, and we've been fine. It's nothing like when the hurricanes have hit the USA or other areas where they just devastate everything. Out here, so far, we've been able to call a close one. The hurricanes have come and gone, and well, we've been fine. As you guys have seen in the videos, I've covered the hurricanes and so on and so forth. But, with all that being said, why is it that I choose to live out here over other areas? Why do I put up with the heat? Why do I put up with the mosquitoes? Why do I put up with, again, just being out here in the jungle? Why do I, put up with all these things that a lot of people might not, be willing to put up with? And again, the reality is just because I'm from a hot weather, I come from hot weather. There's a lot of you guys out there that come from hot weather. You guys might come from the southern portion of the USA. So you might be coming from, the Southwest, where you might have something like 120-degree weather on a regular basis out there in the desert. So again, you might be used to the heat, want to live in the heat. So this is a great area for that. So again, a lot of people always say, it's like, oh, Jose, why are you always talking about, moving to Merida? There's so many other places out there that are better, like the Philippines or Thailand or what have you. And I always chuckle and think to myself, hey, if you can't handle the weather here, you're definitely not going to be able to handle the weather in Southeast Asia. It's a lot worse over there, from my opinion. A lot more humid, a lot more storms, and so on and so forth. And, out here, again, if you are looking for a milder climate, this is not the area for you. If you're looking for a more harsh climate so that you can really enjoy the beach, the cenotes. You can enjoy the outdoors, and again, it's basically summer all year round for the most part. Then you're gonna love it out here. I remember when I left South Florida and I first moved to Seattle, Washington. Yeah, at first it was great. I got to see snow, I got to see the tulips, I get to see fall, I get to see all that stuff. But after a few years of living in Seattle, I could not wait to get out of there. The main reason was the weather, more than anything else. I just couldn't take the weather. And the Seattle weather was very mild in comparison to weather that I would see, just outside of city limits. Or again, I don't know if you guys know where Seattle, Washington is on the map, but we're just, the Seattle was just a few hours away from Vancouver, Canada. And, the weather up there can get pretty bad, just like anywhere up in the northern region. So if you're coming from an area where you might see snow, you might see the seasons, you might be used to harsh climate, but on the opposite end of the spectrum, meaning you're used to a lot of snow, a lot of cold weather, and so on and so forth. Well, maybe Merida, the Yucatan, might not be for you. Maybe the Caribbean might not be for you. Maybe the beach might not be for you, and so on and so forth. Again, it depends. You guys can see it in the video. It's hot even for the locals. It's not just hot for me or hot for you. Even the locals feel it's hot. Just like if you're living in Buffalo, New York, right? It's going to be cold for the people that live there. But at the same time, they're playing in the snow, they're doing snowmen, and they're enjoying that kind of weather. Where for me, sure, I would love to take a vacation, out in the snow, out in the mountains, and just experience it for a little while. But I would not want to live in that kind of environment. And so, there's many things that go with it. For me, one of the reasons that I love it out here so much, the charm that I love about this region so much is the fact that it is, what is it? It is Mexico at the end of the day, but it also is very different. It's a lot, closer to Central America. Again, there's a Mayan culture out here, that the Mayans and the Mayan language, all that, basically, changes the culture out here, as opposed to like the rest of Mexico. Also, there's a Caribbean influence out here. You've heard me talk about it multiple times. There's a lot of Cubans out here. There's a lot of other Latinos, out here. Again, just simply because of the close proximity to the rest of Central America and the Caribbean. And so for me, coming from Miami and, every once in a while, I might want some Cuban food or some Cuban stuff. Well, I can get it out here. I can go to a Cuban restaurant and get myself a Cuban sandwich. I can get myself Cuban coffee. They have a lot of the similar fruits and vegetables and things like that they had, back where I was growing up. It's just, again, because of the close proximity to everything. So one second, I got Gizmo out here. He wants to get out of the house. He wants to get out of the house. Anyways, guys, hope everyone's doing all right. I know we just jumped right into the show today. It's getting hot and humid out there as the day proceeds, and oh man, hope you guys are doing all right out there. So anyway, shout out to everyone in the audience. We got Ultra, we got Jose Vasquez, we got Jonathan, we got Validid Reefer, Travel Girl, Cecil, Toyhead. Shout out to everyone out there. Welcome to the show, and everyone else. I know there's a bunch of people watching. Not everybody has time to hang out in the chat. Ultra says Mexico is grand, but I am sick of cops. Oh, hold on a second. One second. Oh, great. Amazon is showing up at the door right now. Hola, bueno. ¿Estás afuera? Okay, un segundo. Well, 1 second. Let me just put some. 1 second, guys. My apologies. On a horrible timing. I'm gonna leave you guys on with the music in Lambo. All right, Lambo. Watch everybody. Look at my Amazon package. All right. So yeah, for those of you guys out there that are always wondering as to whether or not, we have Amazon out here, we have, a lot of the things that we have from the USA. I have everything here. So that's another thing too. A lot of people always ask me, again, if I miss the USA, if I miss things from back home, like, well, what do I miss? I got my Amazon package, again, here at the door. They don't just throw it at the door like they might in the USA. They actually call me, hey, I'm outside. Get next day delivery if I want to, and all that good stuff. But again, every single thing that I miss from back home, or every single thing, from back home, I have here. I have absolutely nothing that I miss. And like I said, this is why I enjoy this region the most, because when I am out and about, when I'm out riding my bicycle, taking a walk, if I got to go to Home Depot, whatever it is I got to do, again, while I'm out and about on the streets, I feel like I'm in Miami. I feel like I'm back home. Again, minus all the stuff that I got to put up with back home in the USA. So to me, it's just like, why would I ever want to go anywhere? Why would I ever want to visit anywhere back in the USA ever again? You know what I mean? Like, there's so much Mexico to explore. But anyways, real quick, Ultra said, Mexico is grand, but I'm sick of these cops and their checkpoints. Look, I get it. there are cops and there's checkpoints all over the USA, and I used to hate that as well. And there are checkpoints here in Mexico as well, but compared, the checkpoints, again, if you compare checkpoints and you compare police here in Mexico to the USA, I'll take the police out here in Mexico 100 times out of 100 over the ones in the USA. I mean, it doesn't even compare. By the way, that video right there, this was shot like 6-7 years ago, and you can see the stormy weather. All right. Again, it's just part of living here. That's on Progreso right there. Again, like 6-7 years ago. These are very old videos. Look at, you got shot up to Abe out there when he came to visit me when I first moved out here. My brother from another mother. But as I was saying, yeah, like out here, with the cops, the cops for the most part, yeah, we got corrupt cops here just like they do in the USA. In fact, I would literally, I don't trust any cops. All cops are corrupt. All police are corrupt. No matter what country you're in, no matter where you're at, they all are terrible. All right, for the most part, a good majority of them. But out here in Mexico, at least in Merida and in the cities and in many areas where I've been, most of the cops, they're just, again, public servants at best. And sure, some of them will try to extort you, meaning that they'll scare you. Again, this is assuming that you're driving your car. Outside of you not driving a car, you're never going to have to encounter a police. But again, if you're in certain areas and you encounter them, the most that they're going to, be asking you for literally is shaking you down and trying to rob you. Again, but like rob you right there, meaning, hey, I want some money. As opposed to in the USA, where the highway robbery goes a lot longer than that. They'll tow your car, they'll arrest you over a broken tail light. You're stuck in the system. You're going to be paying, you're going to be paying for your freedom in installments, okay, for years and years and years. You're going to have a record that's going to, follow you for the rest of your life. And I could go on and on. We're out here in Mexico, like I said, you know what I mean? Like, depending on your level of Spanish knowledge, your depending on how much your rights and the Constitution, and as much as you're willing to, again, encounter these police, you're either going to have a problem or not have a problem. Most of the time, the problem is only going to cost you like $25, $50 tops. You know what I mean? As opposed to where in the USA, come on, you know what I mean? Like, even if you get lucky enough where a police officer just pulls you over and gives you a ticket, I mean, come on, there ain't no ticket, there ain't no infraction that's like $25 or $50 in the USA. Even the smallest infraction is over $100 or more. And that's, again, you got to go to court, you got to go to this, you're going to put points on your license, and it's like, whatever, man. So look, I get it. For those people out there that are just sick and tired of certain things in Mexico, well, Mexico might not be for you. It's totally fine. You can just stay in the USA. I totally understand. Ultra says, I used the bus. Cops boarded the bus and assaulted me for filming and took my cameras. Yeah, I don't know about all that. I don't know about all that. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. You know what I mean? Look, there's always going to be people that say all kinds of things, but I sincerely, doubt that they would do that. And I mean, again, it could happen. I'm not going to say it doesn't happen, but the thing is that if something like that were to happen, believe it or not, you actually have, a recourse. You can actually go and demand, you know what I mean? Like, your rights. You can actually go and go to court. You can actually go to whatever. And these cops will get in trouble. Why? Because the thing is, look, in the USA, when they violate your rights, and you go to court, you quickly find out that all the laws are there to protect the police. But if you were actually to do something like that here in Mexico, no, they don't. All police and these people, they all have they don't have immunity like they do in the USA. So unfortunately for them, when they break the law, whatever they do, even if they, take your camera, well, then believe it or not, that's like they stole from you. If they wrongfully arrest you, that's kidnapping. And I could go on. And it happens all the time. This is why a lot of times police, I've talked about it multiple times on the channel. This is why most of the time police do not do anything. Okay? Because why would they do anything if they're just going to get in trouble as well? So, no, cops in Mexico do not have qualified immunity. Okay? I was talking about the cops in the USA. All right? So anyways, whatever. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about living in Merida and why I love it out here so much. And that's part of it. The fact that it's very quiet out here compared to other parts of Mexico. Of course, remember, Mexico's a giant country, the size, very similar to the USA. Obviously not as big, but pretty big. And, depending on what part of the country you're in, depending on, how, difficult the police or authority or, whoever's in charge up there, are going to be. Just like in the USA, there are certain parts of the USA that are safer than others. There are certain parts of the USA where I hear it all the time where they tell me, I hear, people tell me, it's like, oh, nothing happens in my little town out here in the middle of Montana. Yeah, okay, I get it. You know what I mean? Nothing's going to happen to you there in your town in Montana. But, anyone that lives in Seattle, Los Angeles, Dallas, Miami, New York, Philadelphia, Baltimore, I can go on and on. Houston, Nashville. I mean, come on. It's just problem after problem after problem after problem after problem. So, anyways, it is what it is. All right, we got Mary with the $10 super chat. Shout out to Mary. Muchas gracias, Mary. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Okay, Mary asks, Jose, during one of your walks and talks, or bike rides and talks, during one of your videos, you go into areas that have a lot of gringos walking around. What? Say it again? Oh, wait, hold on. Let me read it again. Jose, during one of your walks and talks or bike rides and talks, would you go into areas that have a lot of gringos walking around, por favor? Oh, you know what? Sure. You know what I mean? That's a great comment, or that's a great whatever. Okay, so that's another reason why I love it out here so much, because even though there's so many people out there that keep mentioning the fact that there are so many gringos, so many Americans and Canadians that are living out here, and they're displacing everybody, and they're changing everything. The reality is that's not true at all. In fact, it couldn't be any further from the truth. The closest area, Mary, that I would, probably think would be like that, meaning that there are tons of Americans, gringos walking around and congregating. It would be in El Centro, honestly. But as you guys can see, El Centro is full of everybody. But I would say, again, my honest opinion, the highest concentration of Americans, Canadians, what have you, would be in places like, El Centro. All right, in the the vicinity of around that Centro, there are no real, from my understanding. I again, if I'm wrong, can someone please correct me? But from my understanding, there are no areas where there are just a bunch of Canadians living, there are a bunch of Americans living, and so on and so forth. From my understanding, everyone's just basically spread out, and there are certain areas that have a few more gringos than others, but not to the point where you're walking around the city and everyone's a gringo. I mean, as far as I've been living here 7+ years and have yet to see that. In fact, the only time that I see multiple gringos, multiple Americans, Canadians, foreigners walking around, in groups or whatever, it's in el centro. And a lot of times, they're more of the touristy type. Or you could tell immediately when they're not the touristy type because, they'll probably look like me, meaning they're just dressed down and, trying to just live like the locals, no matter what their income level is. Okay. I got a lot of friends out here. Some friends have a lot of income. Some friends have the same income as me or less, Americans, Canadians, whatever. And basically we all kind of live the same. Not everybody, some of them that have higher income, they tend to keep to themselves. But look, honestly, I know, in fact, now I'm thinking about it. I do know that a few people, in fact, I think Matt, if you guys remember Matt from the last few videos that I've done, recently, when I interviewed him, he told me that over there where he lives, I think Chubuna, is that where he's at? Anyways, that there are more gringos in those areas. All right. And by the way, I plan to do videos in other areas, so I will keep an eye on that. That is a great idea to do a video on. But the thing is, it's like Merida is not like a Ajijic, or whatever it is, where there's gringos everywhere. It's not like Tulum. It's not like any of these places. The reality is that Merida is still, kind of like out in the middle of nowhere in a sense. And a lot of the people that are moving to Merida, okay, are other Mexicans. Tons of Mexicans, again, Mexicans that might live in an area close to where Ultra is, and they're probably sick of the police. They're probably sick of the violence. They're probably sick of, the extortions. They're probably sick of the insecurity, and I can go on and on, the high cost of living and so on and so forth. And so a lot of them are just moving to Merida. All right, and a lot of people from Merida, a lot of locals from Merida, they're also, tired of not making enough money because the Yucatan is one of the places that has the lowest income, the lowest wage earners in basically the whole country. And right now, it's one of the most expensive places to live relative to, to that stat. So a lot of people from here are moving away to other parts of Mexico or even the USA or whatever, just for a better opportunity to make more money, to have a better life and so on and so forth. So it is kind of interesting to see because in the 7 years that I've been here, even though it seems like there's a giant population boom, if you really look at the stats, they've been, kind of going sideways the whole time. So as more and more foreigners come to come to Merida, Americans, Canadians, other Mexicans, and so on and so forth, well, there's a lot of locals that are also leaving. So basically, it just stays even. It's been staying even. And so even though you might see a lot of new housing being built, you might see a lot of infrastructure being taken care of, you might be seeing a lot, big economic boom here, you're not seeing brand new schools being built. You're not seeing brand new hospitals being built per se. You're not seeing any of that. Now, we did have a bunch of that happen, years ago. But again, that's the thing. It's like, it's kind of like a weird, demographic change that's kind of going on here. So let me see. Shy C says, is Merida struggling with gentrification the way other parts of Mexico are? Yes and no. This is something I'm actually talk about a lot, which is gentrification. We're going to be talking about more in future episodes. I got a bunch of notes, for future episodes. But the whole gentrification thing is something that's affecting the whole world right now. I was watching a video right now of some YouTuber that's in Thailand, and basically he was just going around the resorts and all the touristy areas, and they were all empty, and he was interviewing a lot of the people, and they were talking about how everything's just dead, compared to what it was before. In fact, some people were even saying that it's even worse than it was during COVID, and so on and so forth. I know the same thing is happening in Tulum, and other places around Mexico, but not everywhere. And so, Merida is actually seeing a boom, and it's seeing a giant growth, and it is having some of those gentrification problems. But at the end of the day, Merida is also a proper city. And so even though some of that gentrification problem that's happening in some parts of the world is also happening here, it's only happening here in certain areas, like in the middle of the city, in the touristy areas, where there was a lot of overdevelopment and what's the word I'm looking for? Over investment, okay, where a lot of people overly invested, okay, in the boom, expecting a lot more traffic, a lot more people, a lot more, boom. And only to, basically find out what I've been just telling you right now, where there hasn't really been much of a boom per se. It's just everything's been staying stagnant, kind of going sideways. And so a lot of these people that have invested in the boom, invested in the gentrification and so on and so forth, depending on, how they conduct their business, well, has depended on whether or not they're still in business or not. And so for a lot of people, let's say like Restaurant Row, Calle 47, which you've seen me pass many times, which is right by Paseo Montejo in the northern part of El Centro there. That area is one of those areas that got overly gentrified and overly overinvested, and you go to a restaurant there and they're charging you in some cases more than you're going to be paying for a high-end restaurant in the USA, or on par with what you're going to be paying in the USA. So think about it. You're coming out here as a tourist and you want to go to a fancy restaurant, and they basically want to charge you the same thing, or more, or whatever, but just the same as to what you're paying in the USA. You're not going to want to go there, and you're going to just eat at the local taco stand. You're going to eat, you're going to just function a little bit more in the local economy and just stay away from those kind of tourist traps. Again, like if you go to Tulum, like I was watching it in that video with the Thailand thing, these in Thailand, for example, the hotels were dead. Everything was dead. There was no tourists, no one out there, and they were charging $120 a night to stay in a hotel. So that's the thing, like out here you're going to see a lot of that as well. In some areas, in the touristy heavy areas, you're going to see places that are trying to price gouge the tourist and the visitors and so on and so forth. But for the most part, the rest of the city, outside of the touristy areas, the rest of the city is just seeing regular, normal inflation, as you see everywhere. But with that said, I was looking at some local stats out here, and from just the last year till now, there has been a 5% increase in wages, when it comes to the typical local living in the region. So Mexicans, it doesn't matter what you're selling. If you're selling little tacos on the side of the street, or you have a store like this, or everything and anything in between, everyone is making about 5% more. And then another interesting stat of what's going on out here as well. Again, I recently stumbled upon this. This is why I decided to make today's video, talk about these things. A lot of locals, in the area, they are okay. So unemployment is at the lowest it's been in a very, very long time. There's jobs aplenty, but guess what? Now businesses are having a big problem keeping employees. First of all, getting employees in the door, but then keeping the employees. And the reason is, again, it just goes back to the low wages. The fact is that there are many jobs out there in Merida, just regular jobs, and that want you to work 40 plus hours a week, and they're only paying you like $500 a month if you're lucky. And so for a lot of people, they're like, no way, man, no way, Jose. If I sell tacos on the side of the street in the informal economy, not only do I not got to pay taxes, not only do I not have to have a boss, I'm my own boss, but on top of that, instead of making $500 a month, I can make $500 a week selling tacos. Just to give you an example. And so the informal economy has actually grown. So as businesses, are growing out here, the economy's growing, everything's growing, there are less people that are willing to work a traditional job, and more people that are willing to have a non-traditional employment, which is, again, a functioning in the informal economy and just having their own business. Like this lady right there. This lady, in a weird sense, even though she's part of the formal economy, she's also part of the informal economy, because all she's doing is paying, a little permit, to be in that stall selling those things. She might have a little license or whatever because she's in the big market, but other than that, that's about it. Most of her income is cash. Everyone's cash. You know what I mean? So they're not reporting taxes. They're not reporting anything. So again, someone that might work for that lady is going to quit very quickly because they're not going to make enough money. But if the lady that owns that shop, well, she can, be in business for a very long time, because again, she has more control over many aspects of how much money she's making. And one of the things that's happening with the new government in power right now, I'm talking about the federal government, is that the Mexican federal government now is taxing people more and more and more and more. And, they're also not just taxing people left and right, but on top of that, they're also, taxing them on banking, taxing them on using the digital grid, and so on and so forth. Again, if I were to use a credit card to pay for whatever I'm paying there, now the merchant has to eat that service fee, because now by law they cannot charge that service fee. So that lady is just basically going to say, you know what, I'm not going to eat no service fee. I'm making basically pennies on the dollar here, so I'm just not going to accept credit cards. I'm just not going to accept. So everyone's just going back to cash again, and going back into more into the informal economy, things that I've talked about a lot on this channel. And again, when we were talking about the digital ID, we were talking about the digitization of the country and the planet and all this other stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, out here in Mexico's not like that at all. You know what I mean? Out here in Mexico, they see all that. They're very aware of everything that's going on, and they have a way out. And then they just go the other direction. And out here in Merida, again, you got to remember where we're at. We're out here in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the jungle. Well, they have even more, and not just incentive, but they even have more of an ability to just function outside of like the federal government, or function outside of the even the local government. Because again, even right now, a lot of people are complaining about the fact that, we got the mosquito situation, we have other situations that are going on here, and the local government that just got voted in is literally absent. They're not even around. In the USA, there's a government shutdown right now. Out here in the region, there's been a government shutdown, for months, and again, it's like almost nobody really pays attention or even really cares much, because that's how little of an impact, the government really has, when it comes to controlling, just the whole aspect of society out here, compared to the USA or Canada, where they just got ultimate control. All right. In fact, in today's live stream, because remember, we go live on this channel every single Thursday, but also once we're done here, we also like to go live on my other channel. Okay, so on my other channel, we're gonna go live over there. We're gonna be talking about the Great Reset. I don't know if, I know some of you guys thought that was over, or, you guys maybe forgot about it or whatever, but sorry to inform you, we're right in the middle of it right now. And again, this is to piggyback off of what I was just saying. So again, on my other channel, as soon as we're done here, we go live over there. So again, if you want to join me in, that discussion, talking about all that, and what we can be expecting going forward on the planet, please check out my other channel. All the links are in the description. I'm gonna put the link in the chat for anyone out there that's interested and want to hang out with me later today once we're done here, and so on and so forth. And then also, for everyone out there, please remember, I have a website full of free information. Okay, not just my YouTube page. My YouTube page is full of free information, but also, please, check out my website. I got tons of links to all kinds of free information. All right. And the last thing I'm going to say, because I hate self-promotion here, is we got the store back online. So again, we got the link to the store all the way at the top. All right. And some of you guys can see down below the video, some, the store is already being linked up and all that stuff. But anyways, long story short, I got the store back up. We got the popular Gulf of Mexico shirts also for sale. I know a lot of you guys love those shirts. So I was able to bring those back. We got Christian's artwork on the new store. We got some of the old favorites, okay, and some new favorites. And I'm going to be adding more stuff to the store as we go through the end of the year, because I know we got the holiday season right around the corner. So, for anyone out there that wants to help support the show, and at the same time wants to, wants to get something back in return, something nice, something chill, like a t-shirt or a mug or a sticker or whatever it is. All right, back to the show here. All right, sorry about that. All right, let me read a few comments here. Let me see. Okay, so we talked about the gentrification. So hopefully I answered that question. If I didn't, you want me to, by the way, in the chat, please, ask me anything or interact with me. All right, I'll be more than happy to answer your questions or what have you. Okay. By the way, I know right now, I don't know if you've noticed, but there's been a big downtick, when it comes to viewers, not just on this channel, but all across, YouTube and other channels as well. So shout out to all of you guys that are still hanging out and still, keeping that hope alive that you will be able to get out of Dodge, and that, there are brighter horizons on the horizon, for you guys. So shout out to all of you guys out there that have not given up on your Mexican dream. All right, so Validated Reefer says, so no meet and greets with Jose? No, not really. I don't really do those. Sorry. I mean, I do meet and greets, but again, you guys can go to my website and find out what the pricing is on that. And if not, then don't worry about it. We can meet and greet here online. All right. Hey, hi guys. How's it going? All right. So you guys have me every week. All right. So I don't know what else. I don't know how much more you want from me. All right. Ultra says, but anyways, so Ultra says, I was filming, minding my own business, and then these clowns aimed their weapons and told me to stop filming. That's the thing though, the thing back with the cops out here. So the cops will use things to intimidate you. Okay, like again, maybe point the guns at you. But you know what? The reality is that the camera is a lot, more powerful weapon than a gun. Again, if you know Spanish, all you got to do is tell the cops is like, I am not putting my phone down. I know my rights. I am live streaming to Facebook right now. So whatever it is you do, it's going to be on you. And as soon as you say something like that, trust me, they're going to put those away and they're going to walk away and they're going to leave you alone immediately. All right. Trust me. All right. They don't want none of that heat. All right. But otherwise, if they can intimidate you just like anyone else on the street, well, they're going to do it. All right. But if you can, call them out on it, or if you can push back on it, trust me, they'll be fine. They're not trying to, cause an international situation now by going after a gringo or going after, again, an American, especially now with everything going on politically. Are you kidding me right now? Trump and the people up there in power, they're looking for any excuse for any reason. Okay, to come out here and spread some freedom. All right. So and everyone, the cops, the National Guard, the cartel, everyone's on notice, man. Trust me, they know. All right, because I've heard many instances where things have happened out here, and basically the cartel, will basically just say, hey, we're sorry. We don't know what happened, but hey, we don't want any problems. We don't want any da-da-da-da. Okay. One thing is what happens to the locals. All right. Again, it's not as easy for the locals to deal with the police or the cartel or whatever, but for us, it's a lot easier. Okay. And they're afraid of the cameras, and they're, again, just trying to intimidate you, like they would intimidate, anyone else. Again, like I said a bazillion times on this channel, all the police, basically, no matter what country you're in, suck. All right. All right. And they're not there to protect you. All right, they work for the government. They're there to, protect the corporations. They're there for a completely different reason. It's never to help you. And if you guys haven't figured that out by now, I don't know what to tell you. And it's no different out here. The thing is that out here they have so much less power, so much less, ability to do these things. But again, the thing is, you got to remember, some of these cops they know what goes on in the USA, so they know that they can intimidate you by doing certain things, but it's up to you whether you're going to get intimidated or not, or whether you want to deal with that or not. Some people don't want to deal with it. Some people do. I am one of those people that is very confrontational and a bit aggressive when it comes to these things. I understand that not everybody is that way. And if they speak English, listen, man, come on, Ultra. If they speak English, then you have the ability, to really push back. All right. You have all the rights, okay, to not, you have, all the ability to not have to take that stuff, from them. But again, I totally understand. One thing is what I'm saying here, and another thing is when it's actually happening, and not everybody, is able to interact, as I'm trying to let you guys know. I mean, again, there's tons of videos online of other Americans interacting with police the way I would, and other Mexicans as well, and others that, basically don't deal with them. And then, well, you already know. It's like I said, absolute power corrupts absolutely, or something like that, right? I don't know. I forgot how that saying goes. So anyway, shout out to everyone out there. Joseph says, Who wants a date with me? Oh yeah, a lot of people want a date with me. But again, I'm married. Again, guys, I am married, so unfortunately, I cannot go on any dates with anybody. So sorry about that. I'm off the market. Um, so yeah, shout out to everyone out there. But yeah, at the end of the day, the thing is that depending on what part of Mexico you're in, will depend on how much of that power they can exercise. Okay, if you're out in the middle of nowhere, okay, then yes, more likely you're going to encounter, a more corrupt cop that has a little bit more leniency to do what they want, as opposed to in the middle of the city, where not only are you probably filming them, but there's a bunch of other people filming them, and that's it. They're done. They're done. It's not like the USA where they get an award for shooting an innocent victim, So, very, very rare. In fact, very rare for even a police officer to shoot anybody out here. All right, let alone kill anybody or nothing like that. Again, outside of the cartel, you know what I mean? That's a different story. But just dealing with the regular general public, yeah, no, it's not like that at all. They have no immunity out here, okay, at all, compared to what they do in the USA. So hopefully that makes sense. But again, as I was saying earlier, so look, right now we're walking through El Centro. This is a very old video. This is probably like in 2021. And as you guys have seen from recent videos that I've filmed in the area, how much the area's changed. Look, these videos right there, that's when I was dating Christian and we would take the bus, on a rainy day and so on and so forth. But yeah, that's the thing. Out here, there's just so much that I love about living in this area of Mexico that I just couldn't, I don't think I can find anywhere else in the rest of the country at all. It's just a true reality of it. And so, I love the weather. I love the fact that I have the beach really close by. I love the fact that even though I live in a city of over 1 million people, again, compared to where I come from, I still feel like I'm in a small town, a small city, a small little area in the middle of nowhere. Because every time that I go out to do one of those adventure videos, when we go out to the villages, or when I go out with Dave and Rebecca, when we go out with Tree, when we go out, and explore on our own, I quickly realize how much there's how I quickly realized how little there is around here, and how we really are literally in the middle of the jungle. Because again, coming from Florida, sure, it's city everywhere, and you can go to places like the Everglades, and there's certain areas out there that are still just wild. But for the most part, everything's been overly developed. And out here, it's not like that at all. Yes, the city and the region is getting extremely developed, and in many cases overdeveloped, depending on where you're at. But again, when you compare the whole state and the whole region, there's still nothing out here. There's literally nothing out here. And again, there's like around 1 million people that live in Merida, and in the whole state of the Yucatan, there's only 2 million people. I mean, come on, you know what I mean? Like in just the metropolitan area of Miami, you know what I mean? Like, there's like 2 million people, not including, all the other areas in South Florida and so on and so forth. How many millions and millions of people live there? Just to give you an example, just like when we went to Guadalajara or Mexico City, these areas have, millions and millions of people, not just in the city, but in the surrounding areas. And out here, like I said, we got 1 million people out throughout the whole state, which is a giant state. So again, in my opinion, the rise on that, if you have an idea, well, the thing is, it just, again, it depends on the region. People love to drink beer out here. The live stream coming in clear. I'm seeing that it's dropping off here. It's starting to get cloudy out there. So hopefully you guys are able to, still watch the live stream there. I don't know what's going on. Let me know. Let me know in the chat if I'm coming through or not. It says I'm not coming through here. So who knows? But yeah, the thing is, there's like so many beers, There's like, in fact, that's a great question. Let me see. Let me see if I can look it up real quick. So, but yeah, but beers, again, depending on the region. Okay. So look at that. So we got Victoria. We got the Tecate, Indio, Pacifico, Bohemia, Modelo, Corona, Dos Equis, Modelo Especial. They got 15 more. Sol, Carta Blanca, Montejo, Leon. So I think, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know because I don't know the history of the beer out here. But look, one of the beers that I drink a lot is Superior. I love Superior. It's very, very inexpensive and it tastes really good. Sol is pretty good, you know. Pacifica is good, Corona is good. People drink Corona here, believe it or not. All right. I think Montejo might be a beer from here, from the area, same as Leon. In fact, like Los Leones, the baseball team, I think that's where they got their name. All right. But yeah, these are all the beers. Barrilito is very popular. It's a small little beer. It's a small little barrel beer. Also very inexpensive. But out here, what a lot of people do is that they'll buy these. Let me see if I can. Does it show it? Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the internet. I don't know. It's getting terrible. But anyways, they have these big, like 40-ounce beers or bigger, and then basically you just get those big bottles. All right, and you go get them refilled with beer and so on, and they're refillable bottles. Yeah, I don't know why it's freezing over there. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Yeah, sorry about that. My apologies. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. It's really weird. I'm looking at it just looks really, really, really cloudy. Okay, so let's talk about Starlink for a minute. I'm still not convinced on the Starlink. I'm just kind of waiting, on the rainy season. Again, this has been a really, really, really rainy season. And, because of that, it's been the worst possible time, to be using Starlink because usually it's not like this at all. Usually we have blue skies and clear skies most of the year. So I don't know. You know what I mean? It's terrible. No, thank you for the thumbs down, Joseph. I appreciate it. Anyways, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, I think I'm gonna have to switch over to regular internet because this internet's not. I don't know what's going on with Starlink, man. Starlink is terrible. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the hell's going on with Starlink. What's yeah, it's so annoying. It really is annoying because there's no reason for it to be so bad right now. I'm checking it. Seems like it's fine, but I don't know why it's not streaming. There's something going on. I don't know. Please let me know in the chat. Let me know in the chat what's going on. Oh, there we go. There we go. Now it's starting to pick up. I think. My apologies, guys. I have no idea what's going on with the stream. It's very, very weird. Yeah, so I don't know, man. Sometimes I don't have any problems at all with Starlink for the most part. It's been amazing. It's been great. I really haven't had any problems with it. But from time to time, it just craps out, and it's just terrible. So I have no idea. Hopefully Pacifico, Bohemia, but anyways, my apologies. It's just so terrible. Yeah, try refreshing. Sometimes that works. Um, but anyway, so yeah. By the way, so look, I'm not gonna lie. I'm on the fence with Starlink. As long as it's not storming out there, I got no problem with Starlink. I have a Starlink Mini. I don't have like a big Starlink. I got it as a gift when I first moved here. But yeah, so I don't know. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I'm like on the fence with Starlink. It's really fast. It's really great most of the time. But from time to time, you know what I mean? I do have problems. Ace Tress says the Israelis must be cutting the connection since they have Mexican hostages now. Probably, maybe. Who knows, man? Who knows? They do own everything. So, literally, so I would not surprise me, but who knows? I mean, I don't know. I had my matzo ball soup this morning. Anyways, I forgot what I was saying. All right, so yeah, but it's not a storm. It's just cloudy out there. You know what I mean? It's not. You see, and like right now, I got full. And it seems like everything's fine now. So I don't know. I have no idea. Who knows? It might be a solar flare, or it might be because of the government shutdown. Who the hell knows? Whatever. It's fine. We're back. But like I said, I really don't have many complaints, at all about Starlink. The thing is, it's like the internet out here. I used to have just regular internet, with Easy. There's a bunch of other companies that you can have out here, to get your internet from. And the thing is that, like, yeah, sometimes it will be good, sometimes it will be bad. It just depends. Sometimes we would lose internet altogether. It wasn't as fast or whatever. But then I got Starlink, and it's been amazing, except for when it's really storming out there. When it's really storming out there, all of a sudden it's just like Starlink craps out. Again, it's not storming out there at all, which is heavy cloud coverage in the skies, but for some reason, again, it was conking out. It wasn't working, and now it's working. But again, if I were to still judge, Starlink with all the other internet providers out here, it's still on par with everybody else. It's not any better or any worse. Sure, it's faster, but it also has its problems, so it is what it is. So whatever. All right. But yeah, I mean, for me, I like all beers. I mean, for the most part, I'm not a big beer drinker. As you guys know, I like other libations. I might have a little whiskey, might smoke a little something, something. I drink beer. Normally when it's hot outside. Obviously that's like the best way to refresh yourself, right? Nice cold beer. That's another thing too. So like, I remember when I lived in Seattle, everyone was always drinking beer and drinking and stuff like that, and it was just like, man, I can't drink when it's cold. That's just wrong. And I would drink like cider, alcoholic cider, that's what I would drink up there, or whiskey. But I wasn't a big drinker. But out here, I drink beer, like not all the time, but from time to time, especially when it's nice and hot out, I will not turn down a cold beer. I'll tell you that. So that's the thing too, you know what I mean? Like, in order to really enjoy cold beers, it has to be hot outside, you know? So I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Um, Chef Boy says I have Starlink in North Florida. Works good. Just make sure it's aligned. And if your dish is dirty, clean it. Yeah, you know what? I think I might need to clean my dish. But I don't know. You know what I mean? Like I said, you know what I mean? Like, why did it conk out? Why did it fail a little while ago and now it's going great? Who knows? It is what it is. Not really complain. But yeah, I know for a fact that I do have to, fix a little bit of the alignment, or where I got the satellite up there, because I basically have it in the same spot when I put it when I first got here, and I think I might need to find a better spot. So in order to really finally, get the maximize, potential from it. So yeah, who knows what Elon's on? Shout out to Elon out there. But yeah, so I don't know what's going on, with all that. Like I said, a lot of times I don't have a problem at all. Most of the time it works great. And, it is what it is. So, all right, let me see. All right, let me see if I got any more questions. So again, guys, remember, we're going to go live on the other channel as soon as I'm done here. I'm probably going to end this show a little quicker. Probably going to end the show in a little bit. Trying to figure out what else. Have anything that I've missed? Yeah, I know. Now I'm all out of sorts. I don't know what I was talking about. I forgot. I completely forgot. I know we were talking about beers. What were we talking about? Uh, hmm, anyways. But yeah, look, I mean, for a lot of people out there that are looking for a similar vibe to Florida, I would highly recommend, to you guys check out the whole region of the Yucatan, the Yucatan Peninsula. The Yucatan Peninsula consists of, a few areas, the state of the Yucatan, the state of Quintana Roo, which is, where Tulum, Playa del Carmen, Cancun, all that stuff is, and then Campeche. All right. If you want an even more sleepy town vibe, even more quiet, less going on, more, old Florida, heat and humidity, then go to Campeche. If you're looking for a more Miami style, a more gentrified, built up area, you go to Cancun, Quintana Roo area. And if you're looking for something in the middle, then this is where, you come to Merida. And this is why I love Merida, because like I said, for me, living out here, it's very, very similar to what I grew up in, and it's like, it just gives me those vibes. Again, when I go out up north and I'm going to the mall, I'm going to Home Depot, I'm going to the Walmart, I'm going to these areas, and again, I just see the parking lot, I see the palm trees, I see things like that. It's one of those things that's always just reminds me of home. Just being out here. So now we got no audio. I don't know why there's no audio. Maybe you got yourself on mute. I mean, it says I got audio here. I don't know what's going on. Man, what's going on? What's going on with the stream today? It's one of those things that's always. Oh my gosh. Oh my. Well, I got audio coming in here. Ay ay ay. So yeah. So all right, I don't even know what to say anymore. We're probably gonna have to end the stream earlier than usual, just simply because the thing keeps freezing up. Something's going on out there. Uh, Alex says, Jose, I haven't made. Alex is asking me, Jose, I haven't made any videos with Jose for home sale. We do one every single month. It's just that this past month, both me and Jose have been extremely busy, and we just haven't had a chance to do one. But actually, we're on deck to do another one real soon. Okay, so just expect one within the next week or two. All right, so we got to go out there and film and all that good stuff. But yeah, those are coming. Like I said, we just took September off. Again, it wasn't, we didn't even realize that we took September off until like last week when I was talking to him. And I was like, oh my gosh, we haven't done a video for September. But again, last month, that was my birthday. It was a lot of things going on. Jose has been extremely busy and all that stuff. And like I said, by the time we figured it out, it was already way too late. And we just haven't had the chance to get together to do one. So, but like I said, hopefully within the next week or two, we should have another one. And then, and then hopefully another one. We got more coming. So I love making those videos. Those videos are a lot of fun because I usually start my day. I just go straight to his office and then I just hang out with him and his partners or whatever. And, we just make a whole day out of it. And, we have a lot of fun filming those videos. I'm not going to lie. I really enjoy making those videos. And so does he. And, it's always a great time for us to get together and all that good stuff. So, yeah, for sure. For sure. Don't worry about it. Those, they're not going away. Jose's not going away. So we got more of those. All right. Coming real soon. Travel Girl says, if you purchase a burner phone in Mexico, can you use it to call outside of the country? Yeah, of course you can. The thing is that, okay, usually, like, for example, you get a phone, how you're going to, be able to call outside the country is going to be through an application. Okay. Because a lot of times when you get just like, one of those phones that you get at the store and you put like a little SIM card in, that's it. It's going to be very limiting as to who you can call and how far of a reach, the phone call is going to go, meaning you can call all across Mexico, but if you want to call the US or Canada, you're going to have some, restrictions, or you're not going to be able to do it at all, from my understanding. Now, there's always a bunch of ways around that, meaning you can download WhatsApp. Okay, that's what everybody uses. Use WhatsApp. But again, the other person has to also have WhatsApp on the other end. So that's a way that, you can communicate, all right, with anyone without any problems for free. And there's also other apps. There's a bunch of applications. You got to do your own research on this, and you can download on your phone, and it'll give you a phone number and an ability to, again, call, with a U.S. number or Canadian number, the U.S. or Canada from your phone. So there's ways around that. So yes, the answer is yes, you can do that. All right. All right, I think we're back. I think what was going on with the Starlink is that it was just waiting for Joseph to leave. Seems like as soon as Joseph left, thumbs down and left the show, that's when we got the stream back up. By the way, real quick, I don't know if Mary is still out there. Shout out to Mary again. I know she gave me the $10 super chat earlier. If Mary, if you're still out there, let me know if you're out there, because Mary asked me a very important question that I actually want to answer. I really want to figure out a way to answer this question because, again, she asked me earlier today. She goes, Jose, during one of my walks and talks or bike rides, can I go into the areas that have a lot of gringos walking around, por favor? So I would love to do that. But again, I've been living here for over 7 years and I have really yet to know where that area is or those areas are. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure, the gringos are congregating in certain areas, Canadians. I know that there are certain areas that there are, Canadians living in their little area. I know there's a lot of Black Americans that have moved out here and they congregate and live in their areas. I know some rich expats also live and congregate and have in little areas. But as opposed to, like, for example, you might be asking me if there's like a Chinatown or an America town, out here in Merida. And the short answer is no. As far as I'm aware of, I have no knowledge of any area where it's just all Americans or all Canadians or a mix of foreigners or things like that. But if there is anyone out there that lives out here or knows about the area, and knows of certain enclaves like that outside of its centro, please let me know, so that I can go on and visit those areas and check out those areas and film those areas so you guys can see what they look like. But as far as I know, they don't really exist. And look, the thing is that, like, a lot of people, when they move to an area, they go on ahead and they try to connect with the locals. I'm sorry, they try to connect with others, from where they're from when they get there. So, for example, like, if you're Chinese and you move to Merida, you're gonna find other Chinese and you're going to just hook up with the Chinese. If you're an American, all right, or you're a Canadian, you're going to go on Facebook or you're going to go into some of these groups and you're going to find other Americans, other Canadians, and then you'll all meet up and you'll all interact together. The thing is that when I first moved out here, I didn't do any of that at all. I would bump into a few gringos here and there, but none of them wanted anything to do with me. They would look at me and just scoff and be like, this guy. So I just never really dealt with anyone. And this is very early on when I first moved out here. And obviously I didn't, have a big YouTube channel or anything like that. And so that's the way I was always treated from the very beginning. So, when I would interact with everybody else, meaning all the Mexicans, all the locals, other Mexicans, that were here, other Latinos, whatever. When I just interacted with everybody, everybody except another American or Canadian, yeah, it was amazing. It was, they would, embrace me with open arms. They would treat me very nice. It was just very welcoming. So from basically the minute that I landed here, I've always just been making friends and interacting with other Mexicans. And that's it. And then it wasn't until I started getting, a little popular on YouTube that all of a sudden, other Americans and gringos, then they started reaching out to me, wanting to, meet up. Back in the day, I used to do meetups and things like that. But it's been many, many, many years, where I've literally gone out of my way to go and hang out, in a, what is it, like an American meetup or an expat meetup or anything like that. Because again, as time has gone on, well, I'm sorry. I mean, I just don't want to be dealing with all that stuff from back home. You know what I mean? And so a lot of times, a lot of people, again, a lot of Americans will gather and then they're just talking about all the problems from back home. Or a lot of Canadians will gather and all they're talking about is the problems from back in Canada. And it's like, I don't care about any of that stuff, man. I left all those problems back where they belong, in the USA. All right. And I'm in Mexico now and I just want to live in Mexico and function in Mexico and then just do my thing out here. So that's why I just live like a Mexican and I interact with my neighbors and interact with my neighborhood and the people around me. And if there's a gringo that happens to live in my neighborhood, I interact with them. And they're a friend of mine, just like anyone else in the neighborhood. But I don't go out of my way to find other Americans, other Canadians, or anything like that. Now, you guys might go out of your way trying to look for me and find me, but that's a different story. But like I said, I know a lot of you guys, no exception, majority of you guys come out here and you guys do gather and try to interact with other people that left your home country. And so yeah, I know that happens out here. I know that there are meetups and there are all these kind of events going on. But as to neighborhoods or just areas where there's only Americans, there's only expats, there's only Canadians, I'm not really fully aware of any of those yet. So so with that said, what I mean, if there is an area like that, please let me know and I'll be more than happy to go visit that area. Alex Rubio says, what's the name of the town near the airport? I don't know. I mean, the airport is in the city. So I'm guessing you mean neighborhood, but there's a bunch of neighborhoods. So I don't know. There's like 100 neighborhoods around the airport. So I don't really know. Best advice is look at the map and let me know exactly what area you want me to talk about. But I don't know, Alex, what you mean. Alex asked another question: is what town you just mentioned about less gringos and more rural areas? What? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what you mean. But like I said, the majority of people living out here are Mexicans. Okay, so Jay Moon says, Jose, do Cubans have their own hood like Little Havana? No, they do not. Again, I know that there are, same thing, like I was just saying earlier. There are groups of Cubans that gather. There are groups on Facebook for Cubans, just like Chinese, just like American, just like Canadian, just like whatever, right? But no, they don't particularly live in an area just for Cubans. Everyone's just spread out. There are Cubans all over the place. There's like there are Americans and Canadians all over the place, from my understanding. Um, Red Queen says I'm coming to visit in 3 weeks. The Airbnb says Cruz de Galvez is 15 minutes away. I don't know. Is that a mall? I never heard of Cruz de Galvez. I don't even know what that is. Let me just Google it. By the way, guys, if you guys ever have any questions, please feel free to use Google. Google is amazing. In fact, I'm going to use it right now. All right, so I'm going to go on Google Maps and I'm going to put Cruz de Galvez. All right, and we're going to see what pops up. Because I've never heard of that. All right, so as soon as you put Cruz de Galvez, immediately you're going to get a bunch of spots. All right, so here, I'll show you on the map so you can get an idea as to what I mean. So I popped in Cruz de Galvez in the whatever. You see, look, this is the city. All right. And it seems to be this area here. So just do that. Okay. Type in Cruz de Galvez in the chat and then, I'm sorry, in the Google whatever. And you're going to find, I guess it's this area here. I don't know. This area 65 and 28 or whatever. So, oh, wait. There you go. There. See that area there? I don't know. Yeah, Lucas de Galvez is a market, but that's not what they said. They asked Cruz de Galvez. So hopefully that'll help. I don't know what the sorry. He's just like, I don't know everything. All right. My apologies. All right. But anyways, but yeah, that's the thing. I really don't know of any areas out there that are just Americans only, Canadians only, or anything like that. And apparently nobody does either, because I've asked you guys, for the last like 15 minutes here, and nobody has been able to say anything in respects to that. So who knows? But yeah, like I said, one of the reasons I love out here so much is the fact that it's very nice and quiet and chill. Look, that's us at the beach. We're having a nice, glass of Welch's grape juice that has been fermented. You can go out there and have a picnic. It's not illegal to bring your own beer, to the beach, to bring your own snacks to the beach. It's just so many things, about life out here, the freedom that you get out here that you're just not going to find back home. And like I said, the more I see everything just deteriorating back home, the more happy and the more, yeah, the what is it? The more thankful and grateful I am that I am living out here in peace and harmony. And again, look, a big plate of ceviche is like $6. I mean, come on, give me a break, you know. So, like I said, beautiful life. By the way, this was filmed many years ago, so who knows what the price is at now? It might be $6 now, and I was probably paying like $3 back then. So, anyways, by the way, that's a restaurant in its centro called El Marlin. Like the Marlin. Check it out. Check it out. Okay, I love that place. So we go there whenever we can. All right. So again, I was just walking around here. Remember, I told you guys when I was walking around Grand Plaza a long time ago, that I told you why I don't film in the mall. There, you see me filming in the mall there. This is like 6 years ago. Who knows? Red Queen says, if you wanted mostly local food, what neighborhood has the most choices? Literally in the neighborhood you're at. Literally in the neighborhood. I mean, that's the thing. It's like if you want local food, a lot of times all you got to do is just walk outside and right outside, there's going to be taco vendors. There's going to be restaurants. Some people, have their restaurant out of their house. But they're all over the place. In fact, the more authentic food um, is going to come from the local neighborhoods. Because when you go to El Centro, like when you go to the mall, when you go to certain areas like that, well, again, you go to the mall and you're going to have places like, Dunkin' Donuts, McDonald's, Cajun, whatever, you're going to have all that crap, okay? Krispy Kreme, whatever, right? When you go to El Centro, you're going to find local restaurants, local food, but at the same time, you're also going to find, a bunch of like fancy Italian restaurants and fancy, whatever this and fancy that. But when you're in the neighborhoods, like that's where you're gonna get the food. So for example, many times, let's say me and Christian got really busy, we didn't have time to cook dinner. Well, we just walked down a couple blocks or a block and a half, and we got a restaurant, that serves, authentic, Mexican food. We got another restaurant that serves, not so authentic food, but it's Mexican food. But it's all Mexican from the region, in the area. And honestly, the best bet is that once you're here, just ask the Airbnb, ask the locals, ask the people, and they're gonna steer you right to the spot because they're all right in the spot. That's the thing, though. Remember, it's a big city, and you don't have to go to the other end of the city just to get some local cuisine. A lot of times it's just like walking a block or two from your Airbnb, or your house. So Jorge M says, according to ChatGPT, Starlink throttles data when the network is congested. Yeah, no, I know that. That tends to happen sometimes, but I mean, I pay for like the home service, so therefore I have priority, all right, over everyone else for paying the whatever. But what I mean, it's technology, man. Sometimes you never know. What I mean? I'm over here looking at the clouds. I'm over here, wondering, oh my God, what is going on? How come I don't have internet? And there might be just a bird on top of the satellite taking a dump, and then, until he leaves, I don't have internet. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's like, again, it's not perfect. But compared to, the other internet that I used to have, just regular landline internet, I still prefer Starlink for now. We will see once the rainy season is over, how much more I prefer Starlink. But, for now, I'm not gonna lie. Starlink is pretty amazing. And I just got the Starlink Mini. I am pretty sure if I were to get the big Starlink, the actual Starlink for the home, I probably would not have any problems at all. I just cannot afford that right now. I cannot afford that satellite, all right? But I probably wouldn't have that much problem. The thing is that my satellite is like, I know it sounds crazy, but my satellite is like this big. It's not that big. It's tiny. It's really small. The Starlink Mini is like three times the size. I mean, so the Starlink Mini is like this size, but the big Starlink is like this big. It's like huge. Because I have a friend of mine that does have that, and he doesn't have any problems at all. So I think that's probably what it is. And I might have to upgrade at some point, but we'll see. We'll see. So far, so good. I'm not really complaining. It's a pain in the butt sometimes. Travel Girl says, Jose, next time you're visiting Jose at his office, check out Cleminta. Cleminta. Better yet, take your wife there. Nice brunch place. Oh, awesome. Okay, yeah, for sure, for sure. Thank you for the suggestions. Um, yeah, but let me see. Reading some comments. But long story short, Red Queen. Look here, I guess I'll show you on the map real quick. Here, because I might as well. Hold on. One second. Okay, here, let me. Okay, so on the map. Okay, so as you guys can see, look, that's the center. Okay, I mean, sorry, that's like the city right there. You know, apparently, you're going to be staying close to El Centro. So really, again, a lot of the local food, a lot of the really good local food, you're going to find. If you really want to go to a place, that's going to serve you local food, just about any time of day, go to Parque Santa Ana. Okay, and Parque Santa Ana, they have Parque Santana is really close. It's right there, Centro. There's Paseo Montejo's right there. All the fancy restaurants are right here on 47. If you go down, 47 right there, that's where all the fancy restaurants are. But if you just are on this end, you go to the Mercado Santa Ana, this area right here, this is where you're going to find a lot of the local food and fare, okay? So you can come and check this area out here. You see me walk through here many times. So Parque Santa Ana, and you see right there, right there. That's where all the restaurants are. There's a bunch of little restaurants. And it's not just Parque Santa Ana. There's a bunch of areas that are going to find, a lot of, a lot of parks that are going to have similar things like that. So for example, on Sundays, during the day, in the middle of the center of the city, they have something like pop-ups, okay? Pop-up restaurants with local food there. Parque San Juan has a bunch of vendors as well, okay? Basically every day of the week, all right? Mercado right here, San Benito or Mercado de Galvez. There's another area. All right, you're gonna find a lot of local cuisine, local food, like really super duper local food. All right, that the locals eat. All right, so again, it might not be for everyone out there in the audience, but these are the places to go. All right, that are relatively close by. All right, and then like I said, they're surrounding, all over the city. Like I said, they're all over the place. You just go to any neighborhood, and you're gonna just find them here. Let's just click here, for example. And as you kind of get closer, you see, there's like a restaurant there, like little pop-ups, they just like, you see Doña Nancy, whatever that is. You see? It's just some lady. So like I said, you really don't know until you're in the area and then you find out. Look at this place. You see? You might be staying at Airbnb and this place might be right next to you. You can't get any more local than that. You know what I mean? That's what I'm trying to get at. You know what I mean? So you see the food right there and all that good stuff. And this is what you're looking for. You're looking for the real deal Holyfield. All right? Because if you go to, like I said, look, let's go to that area that I told you about, the gentrified area. We're on 47 all the way up here. Okay, so you guys can get an idea. See, look at how gentrified this area is. Okay? Look at that. You see how different it is? Look. Oh, look at that. A bunch of gringos. Anyways, so you see, you go up and down, you see, like, you got Yakuza, you got the, what is it, like, the marmalade, Barreto, all these fancy places, again, there's nothing wrong with them, but, just to get an idea. And I've walked down this street a gazillion times, okay? I've literally done a few videos here in the last few weeks, okay? I biked down this, I think I walked down here recently, but you guys can see, okay? Some of these places are open, some of them are not. Some of them are doing good, some of them are not. Hold on a second. What the hell is that? Hold on a second. Sorry about that. Oh, got another Amazon delivery. We got the wifey out there. She got it. So, in fact, I got to get going. I forgot. I got to get going soon. Not yet, but soon. But anyways, but yeah, so look, these are all the gentrified, there's hotels here, there's all kinds of fancy places here, and so on and so forth, So, but again, see, look, a fancy Oliva, fancy Italian restaurant, fancy steakhouse right there, so on and so forth. But again, this is on one end of the street, but if you go all the way to the other end of the street, all right, come on. Okay, so we were like somewhere right here, right above my head there. But if you go all the way to the other end of the street, okay? All right, this is Paseo Montejo. So again, if you go down that street, if you keep going down that street, that's all those fancy gentrified restaurants. If you go up that way, that's Paseo Montejo. All right, that's on. Oh, sorry, push. But see, look, this area, when I first moved out here, there was like nothing really here. A lot of just abandoned stuff, but all these are gentrified restaurants and places now all around here. All over here as well. That place over there. Okay? But again, if you go out this way, Okay, and these places all got gentrified as well. But again, when you come out here, just again, just the end of the street here to the Parque Santa Ana, even though some of these places have been kind of gentrified and beautified and all this other stuff, there's certain areas, like I said, like this, like right here, that area there, that's always going to be the same. Okay, so just FYI, you got to do exploring, you got to walk around. There's a lot of things that you got to do, um, and so on and so forth. So, all right. Yeah, even that six looks gentrified. Yeah, exactly. Well, again, you guys have seen me, um, walking through those areas and mentioning all that. So, um, but again, by the way, I would highly recommend that you do visit like a nice restaurant or fancy restaurant from time to time. Oh, what happened here? What's going on with the video? But anyways, but yeah, but please, check out the local places. I think the local cuisine is going to be a lot better. And again, look, this is like a baseball game. This is the local market. Here, I'll just show you. There's a local market there. And again, the local flea market. I highly suggest you guys visit some of the local flea markets as well. You get some amazing food there. Local markets there. I do not do tours. All right. Someone's asking me if I do tours. I do not do tours. All right. But yeah, like I said, you know what I mean? Like I do virtual tours, okay? My tours are free. All you got to do is just subscribe to the channel, all right? And watch my videos and I tour the whole city and I tour, the whole state and I tour, all kinds of areas for free. All right? You guys can join me while I do that stuff, all right? Now, again, I don't do tours, but for those of people out there that do want to hire me for consulting, I do consultations. Okay, I do video consultations where you guys can hire me to do a voice call. You know what I mean, and we can talk. For an hour or so, or more or less, or whatever. To answer all your questions about whatever it is you need. Some people want to meet me in person. Okay, so then there's a price for that as well. You can find out all the information on my website. Again, joseadiaga.com. All the links are down below. But again, you can find out, you can hire me. We can do an in-person consultation. Let's say that you want me to really do a tour. Okay, maybe we can work something out. Usually, most people don't want to pay my fee. And I get it. They would rather pay somebody else that fee or more, to do that. Okay, well, go right ahead. But yeah, a lot of people just want me to hang out with them all day long for like 3 beers and $20. And I'm like, nah, it's okay. You know what I mean? I can buy my 3 beers and I'll pay myself $20 to stay home and watch a baseball game. But like I said, if you really want me, to meet me, you really want to, talk to me, you really want me to give you a tour, you really want me to, we can work something out. Again, assuming it fits your budget. All right. But again, if it doesn't, it's okay. I'm totally fine with that. All right. That's why I don't do tours. All right. I used to be a chef. All right. Meaning, I worked behind the kitchen. All right. I used to be a bartender and a server. And there's a reason why I ended up in the kitchen. All right. And I have to interact with that many people. I love you guys. I love all of you guys, but, you know, my peace of mind is the most important thing. And I'll pay whatever it takes to make sure I can keep that. So, anyways, all right. I think that's it. I think we're going to wrap this bad boy up. I don't know what else to talk about right now. I think I've, mentioned enough as to why I love living out here. Again, also, one of the main reasons I love living out here is the fact that this is a growing city. We're right at the beginning of a major boom, something that I witnessed with my own eyes when I lived in Miami, Florida. I remember Miami, Florida was basically a dot on the map 50 years ago. And well, look at Miami now. And I look at this region very similarly, where again, when I first moved here, Merida was still like a dot on the map. And I didn't even know where Merida was. Most people didn't even know where Merida was. And now, well, still, most people still don't know where Merida is. But a lot of people do. A lot more people know where it is. And there's a lot of money, a lot of investment, a lot of people moving here, a lot of growth, a lot of everything. And the way I'm looking at it, it's freaking awesome. I love it. So, all right. With that said, it's time for me to head out of here. I got to wrap it up because I got another show. Remember, we got another live stream that we're going to be doing in about 30 minutes on my other channel. And I would love to see you guys there, where we're going to really talk about, things that, again, Starlink, what is it? The people that are in control of Starlink might knock me off, when I start talking about the things I'm going to talk about on my other channel. So who knows? Maybe that's why, I'm getting, what is it? I'm getting in trouble with the powers that be, right? Anyways, all right, guys. With all that said, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Again, thank you so much for all the love and support. Again, remember, we got the store back up. Okay, we got some new shirts. We're gonna have a bunch of new products on the store. If you want to help, support the show, there's a great way you can help support the show. Again, with the new store, so far, as from what I can see, I'm sorry, with the new store, as I was building the new store, one of the things that I was able to do was bring the price down, because the t-shirts and all that were a lot more expensive on the other side. It seems like here I can not only provide you guys, with a more affordable merchandise, but also I'm making a little bit more on my end. And again, hopefully you guys enjoy the products. Really soon, again, I just opened up the store, but really soon, I should be expecting some t-shirts, because I ordered some shirts from them as well, so that I can wear them. So, I can wear my own merch and I can show you guys as well. And then we can go from there. But again, great way to help support the show, if that's what you want to do. And if you don't, well, don't worry about it. I still love you anyway. I love you no matter what. So, all right, guys, with all that being said, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Or I'll see you guys in about 30 minutes on the other channel. So, you already know the deal. If you like this kind of content, don't forget to please like, please subscribe, please share, please the bell icon. But more importantly than anything else, please continue to stay awesome. Love you guys, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye, guys.